At the beginning of 2025, a major change in federal law was expected to correct a long-standing problem affecting millions of retirees. News outlets across the country called it one of the biggest Social Security fixes in decades. For many Americans, it meant overdue benefits, long-awaited adjustments, and payments that should have arrived years earlier. The Social Security Administration ultimately issued more than 3.1 million retroactive payments worth approximately $17 billion. Countless retirees suddenly found unexpected deposits in their bank accounts, money they had spent decades waiting to receive. For many, it finally felt like a promise had been fulfilled after years of being shortchanged. But here is what the headlines stopped covering, and it is the reason I am making this video. When a system processes 3.2 million corrections in a hurry, it does not finish all of them cleanly. Some people got paid, some people got partially paid, some people got their one-time check, but are still right now in 2026 collecting a monthly amount calculated on the old wrong formula. And one specific group, the one I am most worried about, was never in the system to be corrected at all, which means no automatic payment was ever coming for them, no matter how long they wait. My name is Daniel Carter, and I am an elder law attorney, and I am not going to spend this video re-explaining the history of two rules you have probably already heard about. The rules are gone. That part is over. What I am going to do instead is show you the gap, the space between the official story that says this is finished and the reality on the ground where a real number of people are still owed money they have not received. Because if you are in that gap, the worst thing you can do is believe the headlines and assume your money is on its way. For some of you, it is not coming unless you go get it. Here is what is at stake in real dollars. The average back payment that went out was around $6,710. The average permanent monthly increase was about $360, which is over $4,300 more every year for the rest of your retirement. But for the people hit hardest, the widows and widowers whose entire survivor benefit was erased, the numbers are far bigger. A survivor benefit that was completely wiped out can mean a back payment north of $22,000, plus that full benefit restored every single month going forward. That is the $22,080 in the title, and it is real. And for some people, it is still sitting unclaimed. So today, I am going to show you the 3 kinds of people the cleanup left behind, how to tell in about 10 minutes whether you are one of them, and the exact steps to pull your money out of the queue. And I am saving the most important group for last. The one where the money does not come automatically at all no matter what, because that is the group most likely to lose everything by assuming the system has it handled. One housekeeping note: this video is educational only and is not legal or financial advice. Always confirm your own situation directly with the Social Security Administration. If you are not subscribed, do that now and turn on the bell, because this channel exists to catch exactly these gaps before they cost you. Now let me show you who got left behind. Before I show you the gap, you need to know in plain terms whether this law touches you at all. Because if it does not, none of the rest matters. And if it does, everything that follows is about your money. So, let me make this fast and concrete. There are 4 kinds of people this applies to, and I want you to listen for yourself. The common thread behind all 4 is one specific situation. At some point, you or your spouse worked a job that paid into its own pension instead of paying Social Security taxes. A public sector job that opted out of the Social Security system. If that describes your work history or your late husbands or wives, keep listening closely because one or both of the old rules almost certainly touched your benefit. Group 1. You worked as a public school teacher, and at some point in your life, you also worked other jobs where Social Security taxes did come out of your paycheck. This was especially common in a set of states where teachers were kept out of Social Security. Places like California, Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Massachusetts, Colorado, Connecticut, Louisiana, Kentucky, Maine, Missouri, Nevada, Rhode Island, Georgia, and Alaska. If you taught in one of those states and also paid into Social Security through other work, this is you, Group 2. You worked as a firefighter, a police officer, or any state or local government employee in that same kind of non-covered system, and you also paid into Social Security at some other point in your career. Same mechanism, same effect on your check. Group 3, you are a federal employee, but specifically one hired before January 1st, 1984, under the old civil service retirement system known as CSRS, not the newer first system, CSRS. This distinction matters enormously. And if you genuinely do not know which one you were under, that is something you can confirm by checking your old federal benefits paperwork or calling your former agency's HR office. The two systems were treated completely differently. Group 4, and this is the one I want you to pay the most attention to. You are a widow or widower hour, and your spousal or survivor benefit was reduced or completely eliminated because you receive a government pension of your own. If you ever went to claim a benefit on your late spouse's record and were told you would get little or nothing because of your own pension, you are squarely in this group and you are the person this video matters to the most. If you fall into any one of those four, this law applies to you directly, and there is a real possibility that money is owed to you that has not yet reached your account. And here is the critical reframe for 2026 specifically. A year ago, the right advice was, wait, your correction is probably coming. That advice has expired. We are now far enough past the law's passage that if your money has not arrived, waiting is no longer the answer. The automatic wave has largely gone out. What is left is the cleanup, and the cleanup does not always find you. So now the question is not, is it coming? The question is, did it come? And if not, why not? That is what the next part answers. Here is the heart of this video, the part the headline skipped. When the Social Security Administration processed these millions of corrections, the work was not uniform. The agency itself reported completing the large majority of cases, but it openly acknowledged that a portion remained, specifically the complex ones, the ones with complicated benefit histories that the automated systems could not cleanly resolve. The AY's own oversight flagged the backlog as a real concern. So the official story, the one that says this is essentially done, is true for most people and quietly false for a meaningful minority. And there are three distinct ways to be in that minority. Listen for which one might be you. The first kind of person left behind is the never corrected. This is someone whose monthly benefit right now in 2026 is still being calculated using the old reduced formula. The corrections simply never got applied to their record or got stuck in a processing batch and never came back out. They are collecting the same diminished check they have always collected with no letter, no notice, no explanation, because the agency does not send you an alert that says, "We have not gotten to you yet." From the outside, nothing looks wrong. The check arrives on time. It just arrives wrong every single month the way it has for years. The only way this person finds out is by actively checking, because the silence feels identical to everything being fine. The second kind of person left behind is the half-corrected, and this one is sneaky. This is someone who got the one-time retroactive lump sum, that deposit that showed up in their account, and understandably assumed the whole thing was handled. The money came, so it must be fixed, right? Not necessarily. In some cases, the back payment was issued, but the ongoing monthly benefit was never switched over to the corrected amount. So they received their retroactive check, felt relief, and went right back to collecting a monthly benefit still running on the old reduced formula. They are losing money every single month and do not know it precisely because the lump sum convinced them everything was complete. The lump sum was real. The monthly correction never finished. Both things can be true at once. And there is a third variation inside this group worth naming. The person who qualified for a correction under both old rules, but only had one of them applied. Their record was partially cleaned up, One reduction was removed, the other was left in place. Again, money still being lost. Again, no letter telling them. The third kind of person left behind is the most serious of all, and I am giving them their own full section in a moment because the fix is completely different. But let me name them here so you understand the full picture. These are the widows and widowers whose survivor benefit was not merely reduced under the old rules, but eliminated entirely, wiped to zero. And here is the trap that makes their situation unique. When a benefit was reduced to zero years ago, many of these widows never bothered to formally apply, or their application was denied outright at the time. Which means today there is no approved claim sitting in the system for the agency to go back and correct. You cannot automatically reverse a benefit that was never approved in the first place. The system has nothing to flip back on. For this group, the money is not stuck in a queue. It is not coming at all because there is no claim for it to attach to. That is a fundamentally different problem, and it requires a fundamentally different action, which is exactly why I am addressing it separately. So, those are the three. The never corrected, still on the old formula, the half corrected, lump sum received but monthly amount still wrong, and the never applied widow with no claim for the system to fix. The question now is simple. Which one, if any, is you? Here is how to find out. You do not have to wonder which group you are in. You can find out with near certainty in about 10 minutes, and you should do it this week. Here is exactly how in 2 steps before we get to the special widow situation. The first step is to log into your account online. Go to ssa.gov and sign into your My Social Security account. If you do not already have one, create it. You will need your Social Security number and a valid email address, and the whole setup takes about 10 minutes. This account is the single most useful tool you have because it shows you what the agency is actually doing with your benefit, not what a headline says they did for everyone. Once you are logged in, open your benefit statement and look at 2 specific things. First, your current monthly benefit amount. Second, look for any line or notation referencing the old rules, the windfall provision, or the pension offset. Now, here is the tell, the thing that reveals whether you were left behind. Ask yourself one question. Has my monthly benefit actually gone up since early 2025? If you were affected by these rules and your monthly check is the same today as it was before the law took effect, that is your red flag. It means your correction was very likely never completed. A properly corrected benefit would show a higher monthly amount. If the number never moved, your case is probably sitting in the gap, either never processed or half processed. The second step is to confirm it by phone because the online statement does not always show the full processing history. Call the Social Security Administration directly at 1-800-772-1213. When an agent picks up, do not ask a vague question and hope they understand. Use precise language. Say, I want to verify whether my account has been fully corrected under the Social Security Fairness Act. Write that sentence down before you dial so you say it cleanly. That exact phrasing tells the agent precisely which system to open and which correction history to pull up. They can tell you on that call whether your case is closed, still pending, or was never assigned in the first place. Then based on what they say, take the right follow-up. If they tell you it is still pending, ask for the expected processing date and ask them to note on your record that you called to follow up because a documented follow-up can matter. If they tell you it is closed, but your monthly amount clearly never increased and you know you were affected, do not accept that as the final word. Say these exact words, I would like to file a formal request for reconsideration. That specific phrase triggers a genuine review of your entire correction record, not just a quick brush off and a promise to call back. It forces a real second look. Those 2 steps, the online check and the phone confirmation, will tell almost anyone whether their money arrived or whether it is stuck. But for one group, even a perfectly clean phone call is not enough because the problem is not that their correction is stuck. It is that there is nothing to correct. That is the widow situation, and it is next. Now, I want to talk directly to the widows and widowers because your situation is different from everyone else's in this video. And if you take only one thing away, let it be this section. For every other group, the money is somewhere in the system and the job is to shake it loose. For many of you, the money is not in the system at all, and no amount of waiting or following up will produce it because there is nothing there to follow up on. Here is why your case is different. Told plainly, under the old pension offset rule, a survivor benefit was reduced by 2/3 of your government pension. For a lot of widows, that math did not just shrink the benefit, it erased it completely. If your pension was large enough, 2/3 of it exceeded your entire survivor benefit. So, the benefit was reduced all the way to zero. You were entitled to nothing from your late spouse's record. Decades of your husband or wife paying into Social Security, and the rule handed you a zero. And here is the consequence that creates the trap. When the benefit came out to zero, what did most people in that situation do? They did not file. Why would you complete an application for a benefit the government already told you would pay you nothing? Many widows never submitted the paperwork at all. Others submitted it and had it formally denied. Either way, the result is the same today. There is no approved survivor claim sitting in the Social Security system with your name on it. Now connect that to how the correction works. The AY's automatic process goes through existing approved claims and recalculates them without the old reduction. That is how the millions of automatic payments went out. But you cannot recalculate a claim that does not exist. If you never had an approved survivor benefit, there is nothing in the system for the automatic process to find, fix, and pay. The correction machine sweeps right past you because from its point of view, you are not a person whose benefit was reduced. You are a person with no claim at all. So while teachers and firefighters are getting automatic deposits, the widow whose benefit was zeroed out gets nothing, and worse, she often assumes the law took care of her like it took care of everyone else. This is the single most expensive misunderstanding in this entire topic because this is the group owed the most. A fully eliminated survivor benefit, once restored, can mean a back payment well over $22,000, plus that entire monthly benefit reinstated for the rest of her life. And it is the group most likely to receive exactly zero because the fix requires an action almost nobody knows to take. Here is that action, and it is the whole point of this section. If your survivor benefit was eliminated entirely, you very likely need to file a brand new survivor benefit application, not a follow-up, not a reconsideration of an existing claim, a new application because there is no claim to reconsider. When you call Social Security, ask this exact question. Does my case require a new survivor benefit application under the Social Security Fairness Act? Write it down and ask it word for word. That one question is the difference between collecting more than $20,000 and watching it sit in a system that will never on its own send it to you. So let me pull the whole picture together because the lesson here is not the law. The law did its job for most people. The lesson is the gap between fixed for most and fixed for you. The headlines told a clean story. A wrong was righted. The checks went out. It is done. And for the majority, that is true. But underneath that clean story are three kinds of people. The cleanup left behind. The never corrected, still collecting the old reduced amount every month with no idea. The half-corrected who got the lump sum and assumed the rest followed when the monthly fix never finished. And the widow whose benefit was zeroed out who has no claim in the system at all and will receive nothing unless she files a new one. Here is the thread through all three. In 2026, silence from Social Security does not mean everything is fine. It used to a year ago. No news meant your correction was probably still coming. Now, the automatic wave has largely passed, and silence increasingly means your case fell into the gap and nobody is coming to find you. The money does not earn interest while it waits. It does not advance in line on its own. It sits exactly where it is until you go confirm whether it is yours and whether it moved. So, here is your week. Log into your SSA.gov account and check whether your monthly benefit actually rose since early 2025. Call 1-800-772-1213 and use the exact verification sentence to learn if your case is closed, pending, or never assigned. If it is closed but clearly wrong, request reconsideration in those exact words. And if you are a widow whose benefit was eliminated, ask the one question that the entire outcome depends on. Does my case require a new survivor benefit application? 4 steps, 1 afternoon, potentially tens of thousands of dollars. Here is the single idea I want you to carry out of this video. A law passing is not the same as a check arriving. The Social Security Fairness Act corrected a 40-year wrong, and the system did the work for most people automatically. But most is not all. And if you are in the gap, the official story that this is finished is the very thing that will cost you because it convinces you to wait for money that is not coming on its own. So do one thing right now before you close this video. Send it to one person you love who is over 60 and worked a public job or whose late spouse did. A retired teacher, a former firefighter, a widow who was told years ago she would get nothing from her husband's record. That one share could be the reason a $6,710 check or a $22,000 one finally moves out of the system and into their account. This video is educational only and is not legal or financial advice. Always confirm your specific situation directly with the Social Security Administration. The law fixed the rule. Only you can confirm it fixed your check. Now go look.